If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and share, subscribe to my channel for more of my content. Also be sure to press the notification button down below, that way when a new video comes out, you'll be notified. China is a powerhouse that's managed to show itself on the world stage, with the communist government holding onto power with an iron grip. However, it took a long fight in order to get that power. This was due to their victory during the Chinese Civil War, a civil war that actually proved to be one of the most influential in the world and shaped China to what it became today. But before we go into the war, let's get some backstory out the way. China for the longest time was ruled by many emperors for thousands of years, with the most recent ones being the Qing dynasty. However, during the late 19th and early 20th centuries, China would fight many failed wars with countries such as Britain, France, and Japan. Because of this, China was seen as weak and would be exploited by several different foreign countries. This led to several rebellions against the foreign powers that all ended in failure. It got so bad that in 1908, after the death of Emperor Guangxu, his son Puyi, who was 2 years old, became emperor. Yes, a literal toddler was running the country. Because of this, China would go into disarray, with the country being split among warlords who would fight among each other. However, in 1912, a man by the name of Sun Yat-sen came into the picture. For those that don't know, Sun Yat-sen is seen as the founder of modern China, and with his efforts, he managed to reunite most of the country, beat half of the warlords, abolish the monarchy, and establish a democratic government. While not perfect and had a very rocky start, Sun tried his best to put China on the right track, with him establishing schools, religious freedom, with him being a Christian, and making peace with his enemies. Unfortunately, in 1925, Sun Yat-sen would die from liver cancer, and this is when things go to hell. Sun would be replaced by his pupil, Chiang Kai-shek. While Sun was a pretty chill dude, with him being liked by both his allies and rivals, Chiang was quite the opposite. Chiang was a bully and really did not get along with others. Here, Chiang would eliminate anyone who was left-wing in the government. That included the communists. You see, Sun wanted to make peace with the communists, seeing them as a necessary ally in helping them defeat the warlords and reuniting China. Plus, by having the communists, it would add to the democracy, as it would be one of the multiple political parties in China. Chiang, on the other hand, hated the communists and would rather see them all dead. So in April 1927, Chiang's forces would conduct a massacre of over 1,000 communists in Shanghai. However, this did not stop the communists, but only made them angry, and thus the beginning of the Chinese Civil War. Of course, there was two sides: the nationalists or Kuomintang, led by General Chiang Kai-shek, which was trained and supplied by Germany, and the communists led by Mao Zedong, which was trained and supplied by the Soviet Union. For those that don't know, Mao Zedong was a Chinese revolutionary who helped protest against foreign intervention in China. He was a supporter of Sun Yat-sen and tried to give Chiang Kai-shek a chance, but after the 1927 Shanghai massacre, that's when he realized it was time to rise up. Throughout the next 10 years, the nationalists would have a hard time fighting the communists. Upon attack after attack, the nationalists suffered heavy casualties until finally, in 1934, the nationalists would launch an attack that almost secured their victory. Because of this, the communist forces were forced to retreat 6,000 miles across snowy mountain terrain, in which out of 100,000 troops, only 7,000 survived. This would be known as the Long March. It seemed like the nationalists were going to win the war. However, one factor changed everything. In July 1937, Japan would invade China. The Japanese invasion caught the nationalist government off guard that it had to focus all its attention on the invading Japanese. Unfortunately, despite the Chinese outnumbering the Japanese would push back the Chinese army and conquer a huge section of China, with rape, murder, and looting being a common occurrence. Upon seeing the survival of their nation, the nationalists and the communists decided to put aside their differences and create a truce in order to defeat Japan. However, it was a rather uneasy alliance. The two sides never fought together, and they fought the Japanese their own way. The nationalists would conduct traditional forms of warfare, while the communists would use guerrilla tactics. This will come into play later on. Thanks to the help of the Allied powers, Japan was defeated in August of 1945. The Chinese would suffer a lot during the Second World War, with the numbers varying, with 3 million Chinese soldiers and 14 million Chinese civilians dead. Because of these losses, leaders Chiang Kai-shek and Mao Zedong thought it would be best to have peace talks. However, due to the personalities of both men, not to mention Soviet forces were in northern China and refused to give it to the nationalists, talks would break down between the two sides, and in 1946, the war would resume. Despite the nationalists having a stronger military and outnumbering the communists would win victory after victory until finally, on October 3rd, 1949, the communists would finally win the war, with the People's Republic of China under the leadership of Mao Zedong being established. Humiliated, Chiang Kai-shek would flee to neighboring Taiwan, where the two nations would have a tense rivalry that still exists today. So China becomes this big powerhouse that we see today, right? Well, not exactly. China would have to go through more hardships that would last until the early 2000s before it got its place as a world power. So you may be asking, the nationalists seem so close to winning, how could they lose? Well, a lot of factors came into play. Remember when I said the nationalists and the communists used different types of warfare to fight the Japanese? Well, one actually worked and got a lot of Chinese troops killed, and one worked and didn't get as many Chinese troops killed. Because of the nationalist fighting style, it suffered heavy casualties against the Japanese, while the communists mainly used hit-and-run tactics and mostly bided their time to gather resources and troops for their cause. Another factor was winning the support of the people. Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalists were really unpopular as they were seen as corrupt, authoritarian, and didn't really care much about the Chinese people. And with the civilian losses of World War II, especially with events such as the Nanking Massacre, it's pretty obvious why the Chinese people lost all faith in their government. Mao, on the other hand, was seen as a charming guy, who he and the communists promised hope for the millions of Chinese who wanted change. Unfortunately for the Chinese people, Mao would prove to be worse than Chiang, as his policies and brutal rule lead to the death of 70 million people. That is the combined effort of Hitler, Stalin, King Leopold II, and the Japanese invasion of China wrapped up all together. But that's a story for another day. With it being the 70th anniversary of the end of the conflict, the Chinese Civil War is an event that, while not many people know about, still had something that managed to shape history and add to the geopolitics of our world.